What is going on, everybody? This, of course, is Stark, and I'm back again with another build guide for you. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Ezreal, the Prodigal Explorer, but not just the Ezreal ADC or the attack damage carry that you probably are familiar with, but with mid Ezreal. Mid Ezreal is one of my favorite mid laners to play recently, and his build's a little bit weird, especially the way that I do it. You may have heard of it before. It's the blue build, or blue Ezreal. It's kind of odd for a damage dealer a little bit, but we'll get into that in just a second. We're going to go over his abilities and what he is all about. Of course, he normally is an attack damage carry, so he's basically mainly AD focused, but he is one of those caster AD carries, so he has a lot of mixed damage as well. So if you build AP or AP mixed items, he will also do extra damage. He's a little difficult because of that, because all of his abilities are skill shots. You kind of have to maneuver yourself, and you want to position yourself properly in fights, stay in the back, and be able to like kite around with him, which is really, really fun to do if you can get a team that's going to basically just soak up all of the CC and just let you just bounce around everywhere. So that's definitely important. The team comp is definitely important, but even still, with that being said, he's really fun to play, really fun to play mid lane, and we're going to take a look at that. So his abilities, just going over them real quick, his passive is called the Rising Spell Force, and every time you hit any target with an ability, it increases your attack speed by 10% for 6 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times, so that's kind of good to know. You want to, like, with him, you really want to spam his abilities and just kind of just deal tons of damage. His Q is called the Mystic Shot, and it's basically just a small bolt of energy. The important note on this ability is it is his main damage ability, his main poke, but every time you hit a target with that, it reduces the cooldowns of all of your other abilities by 1 second. So that's really huge. You want to just keep spamming your stuff and getting your cooldowns back for your other abilities. His W is the Essence Flux. It's probably his least used ability. It's another way, basically a wave of energy, but it passes through minions instead of hitting the very first one that it comes in contact with. And if you do fire that around your allies, they will actually have increased attack speed as well. Then moving into his E is Arcane Shift. This is basically his little blink or his little flash. His Arcane Shift teleports him to whichever location you have your cursor on. And it has a kind of a small range, but it's still big enough that you can really jump around. You can juke skill shots, you can dodge damage and all of that, and you can kind of just take the enemy off guard while not blowing your summoner's flash. So that's really important to notice. Now, whenever you do press the E, it will fire a small bolt of energy to the nearest unit. So whether it's an ally, or whether it's an enemy champion or an enemy minion, so you gotta kind of pay attention to that as well. His ultimate is a True Shot Barrage. It's a global ultimate. It's one of the few global ultimates in the game, and it basically fires a huge like wave of energy across the map. And each thing that it hits, it does a little bit less damage too. So you can get off some nice snipes. You can clear waves with it later in the game. It's really useful, and you're gonna want to kind of judge when you want to use it. It has a semi-short cooldown, but it is long enough that you start a team fight after you use it, and it's not up. You know, you lose out on a lot of damage that you could possibly be throwing down. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as his build goes, you definitely want to go tier first with this blue build Ezreal, because basically you're going to want to go right from that into the Manamune. Okay, and once you get that Manamune, you're going to just basically just be stacking that, and as soon as you can get it stacked up, you get it stacked up to where you can pop the active on it. You're going to do a ton of damage with that activated. But with the blue build, you go tier first, and then I like to get the cooldown boots, just again so you can just keep spamming your stuff. You know, if your jungler's going to give you blue, it's going to be awesome. You're going to be able to do it even more, but you want to start off with that tier, get it as soon as you possibly can and start stacking it. Now from there, this is where it gets a little weird. You're going to actually go the Frozen Gauntlets, and that is really where blue build Ezreal starts to do tons of damage. Now you're thinking, well, why? Because that's just, you know, that gives you the cooldown and the armor, and it has an on-hit effect of the, you know, the extra slow. But basically what that allows you to do is just to keep spamming your spells. You can hit the person with Q after Q after Q. You can E into them. You know, you shift forward, and you're just gonna keep dealing damage. Now, every time you hit them with the Q, it's gonna slow the area around them. That's the on-hit effect that the gauntlets have. So that's freaking awesome. From there, you're gonna go into Last Whisper. Gives you that armor penetration, as well as the flat damage. And then after that, it's kind of up to you. You can go GA if you need it. I like to go Infinity Edge as a last item kind of thing, or not last item, as a fourth item, but yeah, from there, it's pretty much up to you, but the core blue build Ezreal is going to be the Manamune and the Frozen Gauntlets, cooldown boots, and Last Whisper. And you can just absolutely wreck. As you're seeing in the background, you want to kind of kite around the fights, and what you're going to want to do, honestly, and just as a quick tip, is you want to Q, and obviously with autos in between. If they start to run, if they're going to get low, you can E after them, Q again. Throw in a W every once in a while, but that W really doesn't give you a lot of damage. That's the one tip that I have, is you don't want to poke with your W. It costs mana, and it doesn't do that much damage. So you really only want to use that in team fights where you can boost the attack speed of your allies, and just keep throwing down the damage. And as you can see, blue Ezreal is really fun to play. I like it a lot. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, leave them in the comment section below. More builds and guides and all that kind of good stuff coming at you soon. But that's about it for me. I'm out. Peace.